Next on ABC-7 at 6.
This privately funded border barrier has special significance for one family.
The mayor of Sunland Park says there's an increased police presence because of threats due to the controversy over the border barrier.
Dozens of companies came together for the annual El Paso Ciudad Juarez Industry Summit. We'll tell you why this matters to your taxes.
And in Storm Track Weather Doppler, we're under a first alert.
Now, we're tracking some showers and thunderstorms. Most of the severe weather well east of us, but we got an isolated cell here in Otero County heading towards you folks in Tiburon. We'll take a closer look. Have your forecast coming up.
ABC-7 at 6 starts now.
Live, where news comes first. This is ABC-7 with breaking news.
The federal government can do impressive things with its huge resources. We don't have the resources they do, but we do have agility and speed and determination, and that's what I hope you see on display when you look at this wall.
But again, because of the fact that this was going so quick, there have been some issues that did not allow the staff to properly vet the entire case.
A heavily contested border barrier is set for completion in Sunland Park. After less than a week of construction, the barrier now covers nearly a mile-long stretch. The group who funded the wall calling the barrier a game changer. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on ABC-7 at 6. I'm Estela Casas. We'll get to our complete coverage on the privately funded barrier in a moment, but first, our Storm Track weather team is tracking severe weather out to the east. And
yeah, we are tracking the severe weather well out towards the east of us right now. There is a look over at Fabens. We're not really tracking any storms in that immediate area, but we do have one of our storm trackers out there watching the skies for the potential for some severe weather. But let's take it to Doppler radar and show you what we are tracking. This is one of the cells. This one's a little bit stronger here in Otero County. And look at Tiburon right here. We've got a nice little hail core here, so maybe some gusty winds picking up. Some locally heavy rains will just start to develop in your area. And we can't rule out a little hail right now with this particular thunderstorm. But look what we got going on. We have a tornado watch out towards the east of us. There's a look at Hudspeth County. This is until 9 o'clock. Tornado watch just means conditions are favorable where we can't rule out an isolated tornado forming. And we'll talk more about it, talk about the increased threat of storms tomorrow. All coming up, Estelle.
Okay, Doppler. And to our complete coverage on the private border barrier in Sunland Park, today the group called the We Build the Walls held a news conference formally unveiling the project. The 1 mile stretch of the barrier is located on private property owned by American Eagle Brick Company. That land runs right up to the international boundary marker called Monument 1 and along the U.S.-Mexico border near the Rio Grande. The group claims the wall is erected in a highly trafficked area for illegal crossings and drugs. And the group says officials from Washington believe this type of barrier is a game changer when it comes to border protection. ABC-7 has been covering every angle of this fast-developing story. My co-anchor Eric Elkin is there along with Saul Saenz, and Peter Rothermel has reaction from the Sunland Park mayor after the city made several attempts to stop construction. So let's start first with Eric, and he joins us now live. Eric.
As Stella, work continues on the privately funded border barrier here in Sunland Park, built by We Build the Wall. You can see over my shoulder, that's where all the festivities were a moment ago, but I want to turn the camera around this way because you mentioned before that work stop order from Sunland Park that caused about a 36-hour delay. Work is now back underway, and they said prior to that work stop order about 80% had been completed, but now they're tackling really probably one of the toughest stretches of this project in terms of how steep that terrain really is as they continue to build the wall up there. Now, members of We Build the Wall held a news conference twice today about resuming work on the privately funded border barrier, but there was one group that was honored during both of those gatherings as well as just a few minutes ago. And for more on that, ABC-7 Saul Saenz joins us live with their story. Saul.
Families of Border Patrol agents who made the ultimate sacrifice of protecting our borders. I spoke to the mother of Brian Terry. He died in 2010 with what the mother describes were drug smugglers.
They were waiting for these illegals to come in that were stealing from other illegals that were trying to get here. And they had a shootout and my son got killed.
Josephine Terry carries the memory of her son around her neck. It's the picture of Border Patrol agent Brian Terry. Josephine donated $100 for the construction of this wall. Today, she was filled with pride over the construction because she feels it's something her son would have wanted. What do you think your son would say if he were here?
Oh, he would be ecstatic. He would not believe what was going on.
Josephine remembers her son taking her to the border to show her the flow of illegal immigrants. The proud mother placed this sticker on the barrier as she remembered Brian telling her there was nothing to stop the flow. That, she says, is why she contributed to the construction of this barrier.
I'm happy for it. I just think that, I remember Brian used to always say, "We need a wall, Mom, we need a wall."
Yeah, I want to show you that celebration, the ribbon cutting ceremony that's happening right now with those angel families. Josephine Terry is in that group celebrating the construction of this border barrier. She says she's pretty excited over the possibility that the rest of the money that wasn't used to build this border barrier might go to build more border barriers along the border. Reporting live, back to you, Eric.
Okay, so thank you. So obviously a group of people who are very happy about this wall going up. But I mentioned before tossing to Saul the 36-hour work stop order that was put in place that put a halt temporarily to this project for We Build the Wall. That was by the city of Sunland Park. And the mayor of Sunland Park, Javier Perea, held a news conference as well this afternoon, addressing a room full of media from across not just the area but also the country, telling Sunland Park's side of this story. And they've gone through some trials and tribulations as a staff and as a city, given the quickness of this project going up. And for more on that side of the story, we send it to Peter Rothmel, ABC-7's Peter Rothmel, live with our New Mexico mobile newsroom.
Eric, this battle has brought on more than just the issue over the border barrier, with thousands of people from all over the country calling in to show their support for the construction of that border barrier. A number have also reportedly called in to make threats against the mayor and his family personally.
On Tuesday, I received, I believe it was the first death threat that I was aware of, and we did have police presence where we were available, or where I was present. And those have continued. Some death threats have been called into Doña Ana County, and they have been attacks to both me and my family, with threats of coming down and shooting us all. So it is concerning, it is alarming, because again, we're a community with limited resources, and now we have to, on top of addressing the issue of this construction, now we have to look at the overall safety of our community.
Perea says his staff has been overwhelmed. In his email, he says he has over 5,000 unread emails. And city officials say most have been respectful in showing support for construction of the wall, but not all.
I mean, I've been called a spick, I've been called a motherfucker, I've been called a lot of different things, but you know what? I'm not going to stoop to that level. If that's where they want to go, I feel like I'm a more educated individual and a more classier individual, and I'm not going to go there.
And despite the need for increased security, Mayor Perea did say that the relationship between the city and the company has improved, and it is now friendly, and they're working together to make sure that the company follows all city and state ordinances. Live at Sunland Park City Hall with our New Mexico mobile newsroom, Peter Rothmel, ABC-7.
Okay, Peter, thank you, Saul, and Eric as well. And building a wall was President Trump's signature 2016 campaign promise. The genesis for the Sunland Park section of border fence dates back to December 2018. That's when Brian Colfax launched a GoFundMe campaign to build a wall with a $1 billion goal. In January, the government announced it couldn't accept those funds. GoFundMe offered donors two options: a refund or to redirect their money to Colfax's newly created nonprofit. Then in April, Chris Kobach said preparations to break ground were underway. Now fast forward to May. Dustin Stockton, VP of We Build a Wall, says a group started construction this past Friday. Construction was ongoing through Memorial Day weekend. News of the wall broke on Monday, though. The next day, the city of Sunland Park issued a stop work order. After some confusion, it appears that stop work order has been rescinded. And ABC-7 now with some breaking news. Just moments ago, we learned that Trump is slapping a 5% tariff on all Mexican imports to pressure the country to do more to crack down on the surge of Central American migrants trying to cross the U.S. border. The tariff is effective June 10th. The president says the percentage will gradually increase until the illegal immigration problem is remedied. This announcement follows an earlier statement in which Trump says he planned to make, quote, a major statement on the border. It's unclear how this will impact the new United States-Mexico-Canada trade deal. And it's being called the largest apprehension of migrants ever recorded. Customs and Border Protection officials saying that a group of more than 1,000 migrants were recently taken into custody here in El Paso. President Donald Trump tweeted this video from Border Patrol showing hundreds of migrants illegally crossing in south central El Paso, that's near Bowie High School. This happened Wednesday just after 3 o'clock in the morning. CBP says 1,036 migrants were taken into custody. Now, this is the largest apprehension of migrants on record. The previous record was 424 set last month in Sunland Park. In all of 2018, border agents encountered 13 groups of 100 migrants or more. In just the month of May alone this year, they've encountered 46 large groups. Police say a shooting in East El Paso started after a man broke into a home. This happened around 9 o'clock last night in the 11,000 block of Les Peterson. Police say 29-year-old Jorge Cano Jr. was killed after he and his sister, 23-year-old Jessica Cano, forcefully entered the home of her ex-boyfriend and tried to assault him. Police say the man shot Jorge in self-defense. Jessica Cano was arrested for burglary and booked on a $40,000 bond. And let's get back to storm track weather now. A tornado watch is in effect for Hudspeth and Culberson County. A big day in news today. A first alert is in effect for not only the tornado watch, but for the chance for thunderstorms throughout the weekend. A very busy day in weather as well. Chief Meteorologist Dr. Dave Spielman has the latest.
We've been tracking the thunderstorms well out to the east of us. Not a whole lot going on right now, but Stella mentioned the tornado watch in place until 9 o'clock. This is the area. You can see kind of in a brown color perhaps. And if you look here on our little legend here, there's a 5% chance of any given area within 25 miles could see maybe a tornado develop. The ingredients are in place out in this direction where you see the green shaded area, Hudspeth County, portion, little sliver of El Paso County. There's a 2% chance of a threat of maybe an isolated tornado. Again, a tornado watch means conditions are favorable for maybe seeing some tornadic activity. Look at Tiburon right now. We have a pretty good cell making its way towards the northeast. There's a time frame as this storm continues to push through the area up in the Sacramento Mountains, but it's been weakening, then kind of building back up. But we'll talk more about the storms out there coming up after the break.
Welcome back to ABC-7 at 6. I'm Estela Casas. The border showdown and slowdown has hurt companies shipping their goods across the border, and local leaders are trying to fix that. Smoother border traffic could attract bigger companies to El Paso, and that could mean lower taxes. ABC-7 reporter Julio Cesar Chavez explains.
Dozens of industry leaders came together at the annual International Trade Summit discussing how the slowdown has affected growth.
Some companies, they'll want to delay. Some companies want to continue knowing that timing will line up and things will be better by the time they get up and running. But then again, there are going to be those companies that say, I'm not sure if I want to do this.
So how do we fix this? Some industry leaders say we can't rely on Washington and Mexico City.
What I'm hoping is that we can figure out a local solution, because we can only control our local politics, our local funding.
So while all this work is being done to make sure more big companies come to the El Paso region, why should you care? Well, you see, if more of these big companies come to our city and our county, that means local governments could pull more taxes from them instead of from you.
The more corporations we can bring here, the more economic development we can bring here, it should be able to alleviate the tax burden upon residents.
That would affect everyone, and it comes along with each of the companies creating jobs as they move into the region, with more employment on both sides of the river. Julio Cesar Chavez, ABC-7.
Customs and Border Protection said at this summit they don't know when officers may be sent back to staff their normal posts at the bridges. So let's get back to our complete coverage on the privately funded border wall in Sunland Park, and the wall nearly completed, covering almost a mile-long stretch. ABC-7's Eric Elkin is there with a wrap-up of all the developments. Eric.
Estella, I'm standing right at the end of the current border barrier that is privately funded, currently being built. And I want to give you a perspective as to where it actually is in relation to the border. That sign right there says boundary of the United States of America. So just on the other side of that sign is Mexico. So this is nestled up right along the border. And if you go across the canal this way, you can't see it exactly from here, but just over the canal and beyond that excavator there is where the current border barrier ends. So there's a little bit of a gap from where that barrier ends to where I'm standing right now. I also want to show you just how massive this project is. Take a look down here. This is a hole where they were pouring the cement in. It's about 8 feet deep, and all that cement is poured in there to then support these steel bollard barriers that are in place and are going to make their way all the way up to the top towards Monument 1, where they're currently working and adding more of these right now. So it is a massive undertaking, and it's been done in a very short period of time. We will have more complete coverage on this privately funded border barrier on ABC-7 at 10. But for now, live at Sunland Park, Eric Elkin, ABC-7.
Welcome back. So we issued an ABC-7 First Alert this morning because of this. Out in our eastern counties, Hudspeth County, Culberson County, part of our viewing audience, there's a tornado watch for you folks in Hudspeth County until 9 o'clock. Culberson County, you have it until 10 o'clock Central Daylight Time. But this is Mountain Time here in Hudspeth County, and what that means is conditions are favorable. We have all the ingredients that have come together where we can't rule out an isolated tornado. That hasn't happened in 11 years. The last time we had a tornado watch in our immediate area, that was 2008. So we talk to the kids a lot. You have to have all the right ingredients to make a tornado. It's not because of the mountains, but the ingredients are parked out here to the east of us. So we'll continue likely with that watch maybe for about the next couple of hours or so. Not a whole lot going on, as you can see on Doppler radar right now. But here, out in central portions of Otero County, that's where we have a pretty decent thunderstorm. It is not severe. You know, it's starting to weaken a bit, making its way right on top of you folks in Tiburon. So likely seeing some pretty good rain. The hail core has diminished right now, so that's good news. So just seeing some rain and maybe some winds heading up in the mountains there. You folks in Weed, you could use the rain up here in the mountains, in the southern Sacramento Mountains. So that is some good news. But we're not tracking anything out here in Hudspeth County, you folks in Sierra Blanca and Van Horn, and we really don't anticipate really now much activity going on. All right, here's a look at our dew points, the amount of fuel or moisture that we have in the air. When you get in the teens and 20s, this is very dry air. You really can't get any thunderstorms going for the most part. But when you got your dew points in the 40s and 50s, storms like it. They build on that. This is the fuel they need. And we have a little easterly push of the wind, so our dew point has gone up to 41 degrees. Not great, but at least at this point we are not anticipating any thunderstorms in our forecast. All right, here's a look at our latest future track computer model. As we run the model here, notice how the model's not indicating much in the way of any thunderstorms in here tonight. We could see some low clouds out to the east of us, but look here. Once we head in tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock, we could track some showers and thunderstorms that bubble up. These will all make its way towards the east and the northeast. But even into late tomorrow night and Saturday, we can't rule out some of these storms firing up across the area. Again, they will make their way towards the northeast, and then we'll have another opportunity for some thunderstorms by later on in the weekend. Look at this. Once we head towards midnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning, we'll have to watch this area again. Hudspeth County, Culberson County, for maybe some strong to severe storms that develop. Storm outlook tomorrow, where you see the shaded green area, most of El Paso County. We could see some strong, maybe a few isolated severe. The lighter shaded green, just maybe a few general thunderstorms parked out towards the west of us. All right, so tomorrow, damaging winds in the moderate category, severe hail, maybe moderate, heavy rain, moderate. Tornadoes will be very low for tomorrow. So 66 overnight tonight. Most of the storms will really be to the east of us. We'll have partly cloudy skies. 90 tomorrow. 40% chance of thunderstorms. Can't rule out an isolated severe storm. 57 overnight in Las Cruces. Your high will make it up to 88. And again, about a 40% chance of storms for you. So the first alert continues through the day tomorrow night. 94 Saturday, 98 on Sunday. The chance of storms Saturday, Sunday, right through the weekend, even into early next week. Temperatures will remain in the 90s. Stella.
Close to 100. Okay.
Yeah.
Doppler. The UTEP football team will have some nationally televised games next year. Find out which ones they are next in sports.
Well, good afternoon, El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez. I'm Will Heron with your look at sports. We found out today that the 2 of UTEP football away games will be nationally televised. First is the September 7th game versus Texas Tech, which will be shown on FSN. The other will be against North Texas, scheduled for November 2nd. That game will be shown on the NFL Network. And for all you Parkland Matadors out there that were bummed you wouldn't be able to see Khatib Lyles, well, that's your opportunity as well. 9 of the other games will be streamed live on ESPN Plus and ESPN3. The NBA Finals begin today. The Golden State Warriors had to wait a little bit, but eventually the Raptors made their way. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. The pregame show will be right after us, then the game begins. Toronto will host the first game in Scotiabank Arena. And speaking of first, this is the first time the Raptors franchise has ever been to an NBA Finals. Kawhi Leonard and NMSU's Pascal Siakam will be in action. They take on Steph Curry and newly returned DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins, who tore his left quad April 15th, will take the court. It was thought that the injury would be season-ending, but apparently that's not the case. Last year, he spent most of the season dealing with an Achilles injury. Coach Steve Kerr said earlier today that Cousins will be in the lineup tonight. This is just outside of Scotiabank Arena. The fans call it Jurassic Park. Get it? As you can tell, they are fired up for their first ever NBA Finals. And again, we're showing the game right after we finish up here. And I wonder if Drake's out there with them. Nah, he's probably warming up with the team. Well, yesterday, the Chihuahuas were supposed to play the Tacoma Rainiers, but apparently Mother Nature and some poor baggage handling got in the way. That game was postponed, but to our benefit, we get 2 7-inning games tonight. At the moment, they are in the 5th inning. The Rainiers are up 2-0 on the Chihuahuas. It's Thrifty Thursday night. Hot dogs and all kinds of beverages are $2. Hint, hint. After the conclusion of the first game, the second will begin a few minutes after. Well, even though the NMSU baseball team's season is over, the Aggies are still picking up awards. Joey Ortiz, Big Nick Gonzalez, and Tristan Peterson were named first-team All-Americans. NMSU is the only program in the nation to have that many All-Americans on its team this year. The Aggies have never had that many first-teamers on one team as well. Ortiz won the WAC Player of the Year honors. Gonzalez was ranked as the second-best second baseman by D1Baseball.com, and Peterson ranked second in the nation for RBIs. Well, the first round of the PGA Memorial just ended, and we have a familiar face making some noise. Tiger Woods ended the day shooting 2 under. That puts him tied for 23rd at the moment. Leading the way is Ryan Moore at 7 under, Jordan Spieth at 6 under, and Anirban Lahiri tied for the 3rd spot at 5 under. Play resumes tomorrow. Woods has not won here since 2012. The French Open continues, and the usual suspects are making all kinds of trouble for their opponents. Let's take a ride out to Roland Garros. Ladies first, as always. Serena Williams taking on Kumi Nada. Second set, Williams serving absolute fuego as she gets the ace. Here against Nada, this is match point, and I'm sure you know what's going to happen, as it just did Serena with another ace and the victory. She'll take on the American Sophia Kenin this Saturday. Well, Novak Djokovic taking on Henry Laaksonen. Djokovic here catches Laaksonen on his heels, and he just drops the shot for the point. Head over to match point. This was a long rally, so I cut it down a little bit. The Joker dragging Laaksonen all over the clay, eventually forcing him to make a mistake. Djokovic will take on the Italian Salvatore Crusoe Saturday as well. That's all the time that we have. We'll see everybody back here at 10.